Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So today I wanted us to discuss the Flaw in Lionheart's character, and I thought we would take a in-depth look at his character and just kind of talk about, what was wrong with his character, what his flaws were. So I thought this would be a, good discussion to actually have about Lionheart. But first, before we get into this, I just want to say this. I just want to say thank you all for your support on the Flaw and Cinder's character video. I thought that that would be an interesting one to talk about, and you all seem to really enjoy that. And so, it got so much praise. I wanted to do something very interesting here. So, before we get into Lionheart's character and talk about his flaws, I just want to make this one announcement that because of you all really enjoying that, I want to get you all involved. So, here's what I want you all to do. If you want to see me talk about the flaws in a certain character, just send it in the comments down below, and of course, I will look at all of them. And whichever character gets the most votes, that will be the next one I will talk about next week. I will, get that out next Saturday, and we will have just a video just talking about the flaws in the next character, the one that gets the most votes. So just send in votes in the comments down below. I will check them all out, and whoever gets the most votes, I will then, make a video on it. But anyways, so hope you all enjoy, and let's get into this discussion. So now, of course, when it came to Lionheart, we saw him at the end of Volume 4 for just a brief moment. And, Lionheart he's based off the Cowardly Lion. And, if you know how the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz was, he was somebody who wanted courage because, well, he was cowardly. And, if you look at, Lionheart, he demonstrated a rather polite and, persona. And he came off as a well-meaning and, very nice and compassionate man, but he had a lot of fear behind him, and his fear really controlled him as a character. And he was somewhat timid, but usually whenever it comes to characters that are shy or that can be cowardly, they tend to be a bit timid. But he was willing to also argue with certain characters, and we did actually see this. But the first appearance of him, it actually really showed how cowardly he was, because when they tried to kick down the door, because when Team Ranger and Crow tried to kick down the door of the office to the Haven Academy, whenever they did that, Lionheart just panicked. He freaked out and passed out. And of course, that's the thing, that it shows how cowardly he was, that he was afraid that somebody would really break into the door. But he did seem unafraid to actually speak his mind to his fellow huntsmen, which is actually very interesting. So it showed he wasn't entirely cowardly, but that is the thing about him, is he did let fear control him. And, it actually kind of misguided his judgment because he was so fearful of his own life, because he was really about self-preservation. And, even though, with the whole conversation with Crow about how Crow knew that Raven had the Spring Maiden, well, we learned later on that Raven was a Spring Maiden, he actually tried to, instead of immediately going to get the, maiden, he was like, oh no, let's try not to do this. And of course, he secretly, the characters did not know, obviously, that he was working with Salem by this time, that he had already given in to Salem because he was so afraid. And, that's the thing, that because he was so afraid, he, it really just took the judgment out of his character. Like, it took his rational thinking, even though he had some rational thinking, it kind of really controlled that. And it really showed that although he was afraid, he even tried to stand up to Salem. And, because he was trying to say, like, oh, Crow's here, we need to do something about this. And of course, as calm as Salem is, it wasn't really so much of a big fear to her. But because he stood out against her and he actually opposed her, well, Salem obviously struck the fear within him, because she seems to control individuals by their fear. And considering that Lionheart, his character is based upon that of fear, that is his whole character, really. Yeah, he obviously submitted because the fear controls him. He is all about preserving himself, about preserving his life, and he is in fear of what Salem could possibly have done to him. And so, because of this, he was actually afraid to just oppose her. And standing up to her right there really said a mile, basically saying that, even though he stood up to her, she, was like, oh no, like, are you challenging me? And obviously started to strangle him, which then he submitted to her and just literally gave it in rather than trying to state the opinion. Now, of course, this could have led to her maybe killing him if he stood against her, and that's obviously what he feared. he feared the fact that Salem was so powerful that she could not be stopped. And and that's the thing, that because of this, he also, he seemed to try to be a trustworthy character. He really tried to get characters to trust him. But that's the thing, considering that he had so much fear, he was just going to work for Salem. It was just the fear controlled him. That was the worst judgment he had. And it showed that how intelligent he was when it came to his fear. When Raven came to him and said that she was working with Salem because she was smart, in truth, he could see right through her, because fear has controlled him to the point where Salem actually is in control of him. That he's over here like, oh, who are you trying to fool? Like we all know, because like the statement itself is, that he says is, I'm helping her for the same reason you are. I am afraid. We can't stop her. No one can. And it shows you how afraid he was, and he even turned his own back on Ozpin. And although he was actually ashamed of what he did to Ozpin, betraying him, he still, tried to sit here and rationally think that it was for the better good. So he let fear, just completely blindside him. He let fear control him. And it's sad to see that he would have let that happen rather than try to take hold and try to say no. And I mean, and that's the sad thing, that he would throw his own friend under the bus, basically, to serve Salem. And of course, there could be more to that. Obviously, he could have known more. But as much as we know, he would have thrown Ozpin completely under the bus. And even during the fight in Haven Academy, even though that whole thing failed, what he did, which was just, it was wrong on his part also here, was he thought that they would trust him like Crow and his students, would trust him enough to not bring their weapons. Huntsman always brings their weapons. Why would he think they wouldn't? And so he obviously puts the blame on Cinder. I mean, he actually puts the blame on Cinder because he's afraid, because he's terrified of what Salem would do. And I mean, it's actually sad. It's just sad to see that he was so afraid that he couldn't just say no and, go back to Ozpin or anything like that. But instead, he went to the point where he thought that it would be rational enough for him to even run away from Salem. And of course, we all know where that went. We all know what happened there. And even in Lionheart's dying moments, he said that, he could still be useful to Salem, although in the end, she saw no more use for him, and even stated herself that he was a coward. Should have been like the Lion and the Wizard of Oz. He should have been like, I need to build up on courage. But ultimately, it got him killed. Not having the courage to say no got him killed. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Hit the video with a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Share this with your friends if you found this informative or useful. And I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and take care of everyone around you. Have a good one, everybody.